So thanks for the invite to speak to everybody here. It's much appreciated. Some of you probably have vaguely heard of us, and some of you know a little bit more detail. But NetSecOPEN has been around for about 4 years. We're a membership a membership organization, a nonprofit, and the goal of NetSecOPEN is to produce test standards and testing that sort of emulates real world performance security testing and provides itself the ability to compare products on an apples to apples basis, regardless of what test lab does the testing and what test tool is used. Now, there is a caveat to that, of course, is that the test labs and the test tools must be accredited by NetSecOPEN. We currently have two test labs that are accredited, UNH IOL and in the United States, AMTSO in Germany, and SE Labs, who I'm sure you folks know well, just joined, and they're not accredited yet, but I am anticipating it will happen in the not too distant future. As far as the testing solutions and services vendors, we have Spirent, Keysight, the Ixia folks, and Viavi through their TerraVM product. So our goal, as I stated, was to develop open and standardized tests based on real world conditions. And we currently have test requirements completed for network firewalls and network IPSs, and more are going to be on the way. So, when I say that we're an open standard, that's something that people throw around on a regular basis, and early on we discussed how we were going to demonstrate to everybody that we're open and transparent, and we really put some effort behind that statement. And in the end, what we decided to do is we decided to engage with the benchmark working group folks of the IETF, and we submitted our standard, or a draft standard, into the IETF work stream in order to become an RFC. It's been a long process, but we're certainly well on the way. We're in working group last call at the moment, and we anticipate that'll wrap up 22nd of this month. It's going to require another version of the standard to be released, and then a quick review of that, and then it goes through the various mechanisms within the IETF. But we're well on we're well along the way to do that. So the reason we've decided that to release it to the IETF and make it part of their body of work is that we feel strongly that anybody who is interested in this effort should have the ability to see the test requirements and the testing process right from the get-go. So many test labs over the course of time have developed test requirements and testing processes, and a lot of that is held very close to their chest. That's understandable. I mean, it's their intellectual property, and they want to protect it, and I totally get that. However, the membership wanted NetSecOPEN to go a step further. They wanted NetSecOPEN to ensure that not only are the test requirements made public, the way we test and the way the products are tested are also made public. And we felt that contributing our efforts to the IETF would demonstrate that goal overall. We wanted to ensure that everybody had an opportunity to understand what testing is being done, how we test, and it will shorten the lead time for security product vendors who want to submit products for testing. But I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. So as I said, our membership consists of test tool vendors, labs, product vendors, and enterprises. The majority of the membership is in the United States, but we are growing membership outside of the United States as well. We've got members in Ireland, Germany, the United Kingdom, Israel, and we're looking to grow that. NetSecOPEN is governed by an 8-member board of directors, which consists of seven folks drawn from the membership and the NetSecOPEN executive director, which is myself. Our goal, of course, is to have all of the testing that is conducted by approved test labs done using approved test tools, and that these labs will be overseen by the NetSecOPEN certification body, and all the testing is going to be conducted in an open and transparent manner, and the test requirements won't change arbitrarily. This is a reflection of the comments that we had early on. It's from various members regarding what they saw as a shortcoming that currently existed or existed back then in the marketplace. The reason NetSecOPEN exists is a reflection of the dissatisfaction that a lot of the members had in what there was out there. You hear terms of people being forced to participate in group tests, testing requirements being changed arbitrarily, a bit unsure as to how a product was tested. There's just a lot of general criticisms in that area. In addition to having the testing done consistently and open, our overarching goal is to ensure that any consumer of the test and certification reports could, should they wish, and they have a certain amount of knowledge, be able to take all of the information made available and reproduce the tests. To that end, we require that the security product vendors whose products are tested provide the NetSecOPEN certification body the config that their product was tested against. We also require that the test tool vendor's default config be provided, and any changes that are made to the test tool is documented in the lab report. And people can request from NetSecOPEN a copy of these configs, and they will be provided free of charge. We don't actually have them up on the website itself because we want to have a certain amount of control, but all people have to do is just email the info@netsecopen.org email address requesting it, and we'll just verify the reason for the request and then provide it. It's a pretty low bar. As I said earlier, the test standards and guidelines that are developed by NetSecOPEN membership are submitted and modified as needed to the IETF benchmark working group. It's been a long process. We've learned a lot when it comes to working with the IETF, but we think it's been a very, very useful effort, and we certainly plan to continue doing that in the future. So the benchmark working group standard consists essentially of nine test categories. We have throughput performance of NetSecOPEN traffic mix. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a second. We look at standard TCP, HTTP connections per second, HTTP throughput, transaction latency, the concurrent connection capacity, and then all of those are repeated for HTTPS. the throughput performance of the NetSecOPEN traffic mix is one area that has presented a bit of a challenge for us. All of the 8 other areas, we've been able to ensure that the test tools produce results that are comparable to each other, and within a certain delta. It's not what we would consider very significant, and we've run this past a number of different enterprises, and they've indicated that they felt that that was acceptable. The throughput, the NetSecOPEN traffic mix, the way it was initially developed, we determined that the initial version of this traffic mix didn't produce results that were consistent enough between the different test tools. And so we decided initially that we weren't going to use the traffic mix insofar as a gating factor when it came to the granting of certification. However, we took the lessons learned in that area, and a group of folks have gotten together, which this group consists of all of the test tool vendors and a couple of other individuals who are in the security product space, and they're working on developing a traffic mix that the 3 test tools can actually produce comparable results, and we're making really good progress. And the most impressive thing about this, in my mind, is that the test tool vendors recognize the value of this goal and are working collaboratively to meet it. It's a daunting task, and what we've done is we sort of backed off the version 1 first, and then went back to something smaller. We've developed a traffic mix that has about maybe 11 different applications, and a mix of HTTP and HTTPS, and using that as the starting point to confirm what it's going to take for the test tools to produce results that are comparable, and then we're going to build from that. It's producing apples to apples results, particularly when it comes to traffic generation and so on. It has proved to be a challenge, but we're slowly overcoming it thanks to the effort of the membership. Well, the key performance indicators that we report on are enumerated on this page, and they're expanded on in a fair bit of detail in the draft RFC. We outline what is acceptable behavior, acceptable results. We talk about what order magnitude of deviation is acceptable. We talk about how the test bed needs to be set up and how this will impact the KPIs. It's a fair bit of detail, and I'll provide John a link to the draft standard, so anyone who's interested can take a look at it in a little bit more detail. Well, the one thing, before I get into the certification process, the one thing that I haven't talked about in the slides is the security effectiveness portion of the testing. During the initial phases of testing, we developed vulnerability sets that both the Ixia folks and the Spirent folks implemented on their products. We had a public set and a private set, and the reason we did that is that we wanted to ensure that the security product vendors didn't develop their product to the test. We informed everybody of what was in the public set, but we held back the private set, and with the understanding that we would be testing the products using the private set, and only the test tool vendors and the labs would know what's in the private set, and the results would have to be somewhat comparable. Like if you had somebody who was able to 100% coverage, detection, mitigation, that sort of thing, where with the public set, and in the private set it was only like 25%. Well, then we would be having a conversation with the security product vendor, because we would suspect that they would be architecting their product for the test with specific signatures and so on. So we're changing that up a little bit insofar as the going forward. We're working with a vulnerability feed provider, and we're taking the vulnerabilities that they have, and working with the tool vendors to introduce them into their set. The goal being to increase the number of vulnerabilities, and also to be able to update the vulnerability sets on a regular basis. We're doing the same thing with respect to malware. We're going to be introducing those into the tests as well, and we're also working on evasion techniques. The one thing that is going to continue going forward from an approach, a testing process point of view, is that once we confirm that the security controls and the product are operating in a manner that we would expect, that they're detecting and mitigating the various exploits and malware and so on, then the config gets locked down. And the performance testing is done with the config locked down to that point. Nothing gets changed at all. If a change does have to happen in order to address an issue that gets uncovered during a result from the testing, then the testing has to start all over again, because any change made to a config will just negate the previous testing, and we force a restart, from the beginning. So that's something that has produced some interesting results that some of the some of the security product vendors are very happy with, some not so much, but at least it's providing comparative results, and it's been interesting, but it's been the right choice going forward, because everybody, I think, is unhappy about it in some manner, but they're all happy with the compromise. So that tells me that that we're doing things in the right way. So the certification process, NetSecOPEN itself doesn't do any testing. The product vendor who wants to get one of their products tested will enter into a testing contract with a NetSecOPEN approved test lab. The test lab then will do the testing, assuming everything goes fine. They provide a test report to the product vendor for review. The product vendor will then submit the test report, if they're happy with it, to the NetSecOPEN certification body for review, and they will request that the test lab also work with NetSecOPEN to produce a certification report. When I say work with NetSecOPEN, what the test lab is required to do is provide us with the raw data that gets produced from the testing. We do our own analysis of the raw data for the certification report, and that serves to also do a spot check against the results that the test labs are producing. Then the NetSecOPEN certification body will approve the report. They produce a certification report, and they'll award certification. And then we'll post the detailed test report and certification reports to the website, and indicate that the test tool configs are available, to anybody who's interested in having it. So that's if everything works fine. That's if everything goes well. There are exceptions, and the important thing to keep in mind is that the security product vendor is in the driver's seat the whole time. The security product vendor will not have any test results or test reports or anything along those lines made public without their active consent. The product vendor can elect at any time to withdraw their product from testing, and that won't if that won't that information will not be made public. Um, the product vendor, after reviewing the test report, can ask a test lab to redo some tests. Any tests that are redone will have to be documented in the test report. The product vendor can choose not to submit a report for certification review. The certification body itself may elect to ask a test lab or the product vendor for clarification of certain results. And this could include redoing some tests or having one of the other approved test labs conduct a spot check. So, our goal here is to be completely open, completely transparent. The security product vendor is in control for the majority of the time, and that while we will trust the results that we receive from the test labs, we also verify them. Then any decisions by an approved test lab or the NetSecOPEN certification body can be appealed directly to the NetSecOPEN board of directors. So it's a process that we try to put into place, checks and balances, and we're learning as we're going. It's taken us a little bit longer to get to where we are today than we had initially anticipated, but we do anticipate that as we move forward and develop test requirements in other areas, we'll be able to stand that sort of stuff up a lot quicker. So that's it for me for the most part.